What is up, all of you beautiful nerds from around the world? I'm, of course, Josh, and this is the Den of Nerds. Wow, I fumbled that one a little bit. What is up, guys? It's Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 5. Holy crap. It's all I can think about. It's all that people are talking about online. We didn't do a Nerdy News rundown today. I want to apologize to everybody about that, but we wanted to do this fan chat live where we could talk about this crazy episode. I know you guys have a lot of different thoughts and feelings. I know I have a lot of different thoughts and feelings. I know the fandom's been clashing when it comes to this season. I think this is going to be a really good fan chat where we can kind of get to the bottom of a lot of this stuff, just talk about it and see where we're at individually and as a unit as well. I do want to say to people, if you're new here, if you've never seen my face, heard my voice, if you've never been on this channel, this might not be the video for you. We do a lot of edited videos. We have a news show that airs 5 days a week normally. So once again, sorry about that. No episode today. But that might be more of your stuff. You might like that a little bit more. This is really casual. I'm going to sort of give my thoughts, and then we're going to Q&A. So it's just a lot of back and forth, kind of a slower-paced video. This is just much more casual. So we're going to get into all of that. So I want to first, and I see you guys in the chat. How you guys doing? Please feel free to let me know how you feel about last night's episode in the chat as you're coming in here. That should be a good way to get things started in the chat. And I am going to talk a little bit. Oh, spoilers, obviously. Spoilers. Yep. I see some hate. In the chat. I get it. I see some people that love Daenerys and defend her stance. We're going to get into all of that. This is going to be really cool. But spoilers if you haven't seen this episode. So I want to give a sort of diatribe or go on a little bit of a rant myself, not necessarily about the episode, although I am going to talk about the episode in just a second, but I want to start with talking about how fascinating it has been to watch this season and also watch how the fandom has reacted to this season and to the last couple of seasons. As you guys know, if you've been following the channel for a long time, or, even recently, I'm sure you can put this together. I am a student of pop culture. I am a student of what happens with these big fandoms. What we do on this channel is sort of have a place for people with fandoms to come. We make content for people within fandoms. We're very sensitive to different fandoms. If you look at what's going on in Star Wars, even now, it is a very interesting situation, divides in the fandom, different things like that. And so there's a lot of different things that are going on after last night's episode and after this season and just in general, the last couple seasons of Game of Thrones. One of the things that I personally cannot stand, one of the things that I will take a stand on this and I will die on this hill, because honestly, guys, I meditated a lot about this. I was like, well, how do I want to approach this? How do I want to talk about this episode? Because I feel very differently than a lot of you, by the way, I'm sure. Whether you're watching this on the replay or you're watching this live, I probably feel very differently than you do. I love not only last night's episode, but the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, I absolutely love. And I think they're making like knockout television, great television. So let me just say that. But I just think in general, the one thing that I'm very disappointed in as far as the fandom of Game of Thrones is I am disappointed with how fans within this fandom are sort of digging their heels in, not only not liking things that are in the show, but meaning to attack, antagonize, and otherwise ruin the experience of other fans. And so there's a lot of people, and I have friends. I have literally close friends. I have a friend that literally told me the other day, I don't think you like Game of Thrones. He's like, you like this thing. You like this debauchery, this thing, this show. You like this thing, but you don't actually like Game of Thrones, which is such a weird thing to me. Because what that is that's you're claiming ownership. This entitlement. This entitlement is this thing that I cannot stand in fandoms. I honestly can't stand it. And so, look, for instance, let's get to the Mad Queen. Let's just get to my thoughts about the Mad Queen. Let me tell you, mother truckers, about the Mad Queen. I think there's what I would consider to be justifiable criticisms with the execution of the Mad Queen. I think that you can definitely say that they crunched their window, they forced things in, they did this, that, and the other thing, and it wasn't necessarily earned in TV time. It wasn't earned necessarily in TV time. You can make that argument. That's great. But if you are coming at this thing from the situation that Dan and Dave ruined this character, that Dan and Dave ruined this show, and that this turn with Daenerys was this horrible, terrible thing that all of this other stuff is now null and void because of it, then I think you're A, missing the point of the show, and B, missing the point of the type of stories that George writes. The reason that Dan and Dave decided to make this show was because George does not write wholly good or wholly bad characters. Nobody's wholly good or wholly bad. Everybody's capable of being terrible and amazing. And I think that the people out there in this thing that I'm seeing online, which I just literally just can't believe it, is people saying like that, and it's for all sorts of different reasons. Some people are saying from a feminist perspective, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you did this to a female character. And like that, I almost like don't even want to address it because it's so juvenile. That's such a juvenile train of thinking. That's such a weak, logical, there's no higher thinking going on. If that is truly the hill you want to die on, the way you want to criticize this thing, that's ridiculous, in my opinion. And all the other similarly ridiculous reasons that you just think that this was terrible. It is, that is the one thing that I cannot stand. And, as I said, when I was thinking about how to approach this, and I'm sure there's many people upset in the chat right now. We'll get into Q&A in a second here. When I was thinking about how to approach this, I was like, well, look, I don't want to be that guy that's like, no, everybody's wrong because I feel this way about the episode and I feel this way about the episode because of all these reasons. I mean, that's just my opinion, right? That's just my opinion, and I don't necessarily want to like assert that opinion using whatever, this channel, platform, whatever, to say that this is the way that it goes and you guys are wrong. There's plenty of people that I think could have legitimate criticisms of what's going on, but the one thing that I did want to actually call out, the one thing that I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous, and I wish they could just, like, we should be able to have this sort of bipartisan, united thing in fandom where we're like, no, this is where you got to kind of draw the line. You guys are being ridiculous if you come at it from this angle. Like I said, the execution, I think you could totally criticize that. I think that the execution is totally fine. But I think that George writes these kind of stories that essentially they rip your heart out. And I think that the reason that they do is because you like these characters. I think one of the ways you identify with characters in the universe of A Song of Ice and Fire is because you can see yourself in them, both the good and the bad. You know what I mean? The good things and the bad things. That's how you relate. And yeah, so that's just the one thing that I wanted to say or whatever, put my stamp down or whatever. That's what I think. And honestly, the Game of Thrones fan, like, look, I'm actually glad. A lot of people had said to me, even months and months ago, like, you should be focusing more on Thrones. You should be doing more on Thrones. And they're right. Like, they're not wrong. We had a huge bubble with Avengers Endgame and our coverage. And this is essentially an Avengers and Marvel channel at this point. You know what I mean? Because we just added so many subs. And we have Star Wars fans, and we're just so obsessed with, like, being on the pulse of the nerdy thing, the pop culture thing. And Thrones is one of those things. We should have been more on Thrones. Had we been doing content of Thrones 6 months ago, 7 months ago, and building up the authority and getting into it, perhaps we could be doing channel reviews, live streams every, Monday, every Sunday about it. We could have really done. I got to be honest with you guys. I'm glad we didn't. With the way the fandom has received this season and just truly the way that all the coverage, the best coverage about it is negative. And by best, I mean the stuff that gets the most views. I'm glad we didn't. So, now that I've said that, if you're still here, if you're not super upset, let's discuss this episode. And we can discuss the season. We can discuss everything. So feel free, guys. We're going to go just right into Q&A now. Drop your questions in. If you've got a super chat, it helps the channel out. It supports the channel, supports this guy. We might get more cool stuff on the wall. Actually, we're moving into a new studio semi soon. And we're going to get to that. So please feel free, drop a super chat. I will answer every single super chat that comes in. If you don't have any loot, please don't worry about that either. Like, trust me, I feel you. Just put your question in, and I'll get to as many questions as I can But the super chat just guarantees that the question comes in. So let's get into it. Come on in with them questions, guys. Any kind of question. Let's talk it out. Yeah, exactly, Bianca. Look, I can see, Bianca, that you are not happy with the episode or the season or something. But that's okay. We can talk about it. I have the loot. I just have to figure out how to do it across the stars. It's like a little dollar sign thing, but other than that, I can't really help you because, yeah. Kate, thoughts on Clegane? And by the way, Kate, I am so glad that you are in here. It's cool that, I know you can't come to every single super chat, but I love it when you're in here. Thank you, Kate. Kate, you got to give the love to the patrons. Got to give the love to the patrons. And without giving too much away, Kate's going to help us do some cool stuff at New York Comic Con this year as well. Thoughts on Clegane Bowl? Kate asks. Loved it. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. There's a single shot, and what's really interesting. I've been on Reddit a lot. I spent all day today. One of the reasons that there's no Nerdy News Rundown today is that I spent almost all day looking at different Reddit posts, looking at what the community was saying, looking at Twitter threads, just seeing what people are saying, watching videos, just absorbing what the fandom, just trying to get a metric for how the fandom feels. I will say this, on Reddit, there's been a lot of level-headed discussions. There's been a lot of people talking about how, like, this is George's ending, which, by the way, please, in the chat, if you can leave, oh, goodness. Pardon me. If you can link an article or something that proves that this is a Dan and Dave thing, please do. But I'm telling you right now, this is George's ending, in my opinion, until someone can prove me wrong. And I guess we have to wait until we read the books maybe, right? But this feels like a George ending. I mean, the dragons, a lot of ways, whatever. I'm getting off track. What did I think of Clegane Bowl? I absolutely loved it. There's a shot where the dragon comes across with the open roof, and the mountain has the high ground. It's just dope. Almost. The thing about it is, it's almost a gratuitous fan service, that scene. But like, who cares? Like, this is the thing I keep saying to people. Like, who cares? It was enjoyable. And what I saw on Reddit yesterday was almost unanimously fans of the show being like, loved Clegane Bowl, though. You know what I mean? Like this, that, and the other thing. No, I didn't like Clegane Bowl, though. If one of you gets mad about Clegane Bowl, love Clegane Bowl. Thank you, Kate. Hate on me, fuck boy. I hope you enjoyed being in here for the brief time, because now you're gone forever. Dracaris, motherfucker. Oh, shit, I shouldn't swear. You gone. George's ending. Can we shout it up to Ken Cologne as well? The meme master, the guy that's blowing us up on social media. Can we get a little bit of love in the chat for Ken? George's ending, but how they got there was D&D. I agree with that, my friend. At least that's what I've been led to believe and what I've read. And yes, HBO offered them a 10-episode season, which I don't get why they wouldn't. Okay, so Ken, as always, and this is just, not to brag too much, but I mean, like, I hire good people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've got a knack for that. And Ken, as always, level-headed, coming through with a very good question. So let's talk about this. Essentially, yes, that's a fair criticism. So the fact that Dan and Dave didn't take more time, it does kind of boggle the mind a little bit. If it's true that they were offered a 10-episode run, I don't know why they wouldn't do that either, other than the fact that they've been doing this for a decade, and it's like probably just really taxing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's probably really taxing. At the end of the day, they probably should have just sucked it up and did 10 episodes. I imagine, particularly with Daenerys, if the turn had taken a little bit more time, which I saw it. By the way, guys, little moment here. Please go to our Twitter. And check out the video that's posted on there, where 2 years ago I did a video predicting the Mad Queen. Go check that video out, because essentially I think they set this up blatantly 2 years ago, around the time when we were getting the episodes last year, episode 5 particularly of last season. To me, it was so obvious that she was going to turn mad at that time. But please go check out that video if you want to see one of those weird moments where I sort of guess something that happens again. I'm kind of good at that. You know what I mean? But I think that it's totally fair to say that Dan and Dave rushed the back half of this show with tying up a ton of different loose ends. And I think that sometimes, like, people, one of the things that people are, but that's like sort of a fine line. So what that criticism can bleed into, which I don't agree with, is that they just, like, all of these important things got endings that were meaningless, and therefore the meaningless ending detracts away from the experience that you had during the show. I don't think Thrones is the type of show that is predicated on an ending or predicated on an arc wrapping up the way that you want. I also don't understand all these people that are like, but the prophecy. It's like, how, don't you think, like, I've always thought that George was trying to sort of point out the ridiculousness of prophecy, the ridiculousness of religion, the ridiculousness of hierarchies, of war, of all of these different things. I thought he was sort of meta-commentating on the absurdity of all of these different things. And now people are like, oh, but prophecies, though. It's like, ugh, what? Never did I think that. I mean, I still think technically you could get Azor Ahai in some kind of way if John, kills Danny or whatever. But I don't need prophecies to feel like I've been on a cool journey and to feel like the ending was cool. It doesn't have to be a satisfying ending to be a good ending, in my opinion. Thoughts on Jaime and Cersei's ending? I think it's freaking perfect, dude. A lot of people are like I saw this thing where people were like, Jaime didn't have a arc, he had a circle. And what's interesting to me is most people are like, people really don't change. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a trope of fantasy. And I think one of the things of fantasy and certain kind of storytellers, you really have to separate. You really have to separate between, like, what I would consider like a postmodernism sort of realism type of way of telling stories, which in my opinion tries to accomplish a completely different thing than what I would consider a more mythological that kind of story. Because, like, myth, the idea of myth is really interpersonal. It's about conflict within and rising above and finding, gumption, courage, all these different things. But a postmodern story is not that at all. A postmodern story is sort of telling you, it's a mirror. It's telling you, like, this ridiculous kind of stuff about your own self and the world. You know what I mean? People really don't change, man. People usually, by and large, really do not change. The way that they are is the way that they are. So as much as that sucks and it kind of stings and it's like, oh, man, we really wanted Jaime to be better, he's just not. You know what I mean? He's just not. And I thought that's what we buckled up for. You know what I mean? I thought that's what we knew what was going on. There's things in the episode that I thought were ridiculous. Like the Euron Jaime fight, to me, that was ridiculous. But it's one of those ridiculous things that's like, I'm going to let it slide. You know what I mean? I'm going to let it slide. Yeah. I see. I know. We're arguing a lot. I know we're all like, trying to, but in the form of questions, guys, for the Q&A would be a little bit better. You know what I mean? If you got some questions, we can sort of get into those. I will say this too. I thought that Arya being convinced by the Hound at the end didn't really feel right to me. You know what I mean? If you want to, like, that is strange. That was a little weird for me. Yeah, no. That was a little bit weird, and I obviously hope maybe she can kill Daenerys or hang around for that. But I almost feel like no, she's gonna ride off and meet up with Gendry. You know what I mean? So maybe we would get that sort of good ending in a way. But then again, it's like the thing about Thrones, I think that's interesting is like you really can't, you don't know. Like, you can say both sides are real. It's really just a blossoming of this story. It's like characters do this, characters do that, and it's just more like interesting. It's interesting to see, like, okay, well, in this moment, this character makes this decision, and it means they're great. And I think that's kind of true of morality. Like, essentially, like, morality is like, you sort of have the opportunity to be terrible or amazing almost every 5 minutes. Almost like, maybe less. Like, in every moment in life, you have the opportunity to do something crazy good. You have the opportunity to do something crazy bad. If a person that's a saint their entire life has one moment where they snap out and, let's say, burn King's Landing, like what's going on there? Are they good or are they bad? You know what I mean? Like how do you define the ethos of a person? Is a person good or bad in a moment, or in totality? How do we tally that up? Mountain Scene was totally over the top. Mountain Scene was totally up for the top. What role do you see Sansa playing in the last episode? This is the outcome that she expected on some level by telling Tyrion about Jon's parents. I don't think she no. So I don't think she thought Dany was going to snap at all. I don't think anybody knew that. I don't think Dany knew that. You know what I mean? I think the truth is, like, Dany gets up there. Like, you know what else too? Let me go on. Let me say this. This is something I was thinking about too. I think one of the reasons I really like the turn, I think one of the reasons that I'm really empathize with Dany is because the truth is, so she loses all these people around her, and she loves Jon. Like she loves Jon. She came up to the north because she loved Jon, not because she really thought like the walkers were the threat. Eventually, you could say like, yeah, she realizes that this is really bad. More or less, she just realizes that like Jon's right, and she basically came because of the love of Jon, right? So she loves this guy, and everything's being torn apart from her. And when she needs him the most, when she's crumbling the most, and she needs to be loved, and not just like respected and not all that. She needs to be like loved. He pulls away, and I thought in that scene, like the thing was, man, well, she says like, "Oh, it's gonna be fear." Then I mean, that just breaks you. And anyone that's ever been in love, especially like if you've been rejected or heartbroken or something like that, I think that heartbreak, if you're just being honest, can be one of the most difficult, terrible, horrible, amazing, emotional things. It really can mess with you. You know what I mean? It can really mess with you. And so I liked the idea that in the end, one of the things that isolates Dany the most, that makes her basically break, is the fact that her love isn't reciprocated, and she sort of becomes like horrible in her heartbreak. And if you don't think that's real, like you don't know the story of Helen of Troy. There's been so many wars, there's been so much conflict, so many terrible things have been done in the name of love. Love is amazing and ridiculous. Oh my goodness, it has the capacity. And I thought that was amazing. Personally, I'm like, yeah, dude. Yeah. That's how that shit go. You know how that shit go. Thoughts on Jaime and Cersei's ending? I kind of just said this. You might have come in a little bit late, Ryan. I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. It makes sense. The fear when Cersei truly realizes that she's gonna die, and she's like, I don't want our son to die, and she's like freaking out and all that stuff. That was tough, dude. That's tough to take. I was like, ugh, man, that doesn't make me feel good. But I can't stop looking. I can't stop watching. So loved it. Okay, nah, I'm sorry. I disagree. Yes, the concept would have been great, but the flip went too quick. Characters don't just snap into psycho rage that quick. Okay, so first of all, I think that you're totally valid in your feeling that it happened too quickly. The David is coolified. I think you're totally fair with that. But I also think you're sort of tagging on something there that's your opinion and not necessarily fact. Characters don't just snap to a psycho rage that quick. That's not true. In fact, madness itself and snapping into madness, I would say, usually happens at a pretty quick timeline. You know what I mean? Most people that actually snap, it's like essentially the sky's falling, a lot of bad things happen, and they just snap. You know what I mean? So I just don't think that you can necessarily say that. You can totally feel the way you want to about it, but I think to say, oh, characters are rather people, or that they don't snap like that, I don't know if I agree. But you know what? That's what's so cool about it, right? So you can say that, and then we can have a discussion about it. We can sort of think about it. I mean, you think back to Marine, you think back to a lot of different things. I mean, first of all, like, we've said this before. We'll probably continue to talk about this. This is, in my opinion, this is George's ending. This was the whole thing. This is the whole thing. There's going to be this girl, this young girl, and you're going to fall in love with this character, and she's going to be strong, and she's going to be just, and she's going to have horrible things happen to her and come out on top. She's going to liberate people. She's going to hate the violence that is caused by the actions necessary to create progress in the world. But then she's going to sort of get a little more comfortable with it. She's going to sort of get a little bit more into the fact that, yeah, she is the dragon. You know, she might buy into that a little bit too much. And then it's like, what's possible? Is this possible? Is it possible that the character that we love, the best person, the person with the most moral fiber? I mean, think about this. This is what's so interesting to me. Jon does not want the throne at all. No way. Doesn't want it at all. And I love the idea that the person that doesn't want it is probably the one that should do it. Dany wants the throne. She wanted the throne way too bad. A lot of the blindness in her ethos comes from the fact that she is power hungry, in my opinion. I imagine that George's version works much better than a single episode turn and starts with, oh no, Dany suddenly has crazy hair, and oh no, she burned it all down. Yeah, Austin, I would agree with you, because there's going to be probably two big books that will sort of explain how all of that goes down. So obviously they'll have a lot more time, and they've already hinted at it in the books a little bit more than I think they have in the show, simply because, yeah, they have a lot more time. Bran's purpose, Savage Droman. So I don't know, man. I mean, look, there's been so many theories about Bran and the Night King and all that stuff, and I know a lot of people are like, feel robbed or whatever. And, again, not for me to invalidate your feelings. I think your feelings are fine. You know what I mean? You can feel the way you want to feel, totally. I do think you should reflect on your feelings, though, and analyze your feelings. Just in general, that's usually how you should do things. But Bran's purpose. Maybe there'll be more in the show, or the books, rather. Maybe there'll be more in the books. Maybe there'll be more in the last episode. You know what's really interesting? Bran had the vision in season 4. He pretty much saw some of this. You could say he knew things that were going to happen and essentially kind of let all this go down anyways. You know what else I really loved? Caleb Griffin coming in with hot with the super chat. We're going to get into that in 1 second, too. I just want to say this one thing. I love how they made Dany unhinged literally worse than an army of the dead. It was literally more horrifying, more terrible. More people died. More people died. There was, I think like 2 million people in King's Landing or something like that. Maybe way more. Dany is horrible. She's the worst. She's also awesome. I love her. Caleb Griffin, could Drogon turn on Dany if ordered to kill Jon? Caleb, last night I thought Jon Snow was going to get up and Jedi mind trick Drogon and do all this crazy. I swear to you, I thought that was going to happen. He was like, maybe because I'm a Targaryen or whatever, we could do this. We could, turn it around. I swear to you, I thought that was going to happen. Definitely thought that's what was going on. Chuck Kiola. Man, I'm the worst with pronouncing things, which you probably know if you've been following the channel for some time. But Chuck, thank you so much for the super chat. The question is, she became the dragon. All of her ties to the world were systematically ripped from her. She's struggled with this since the beginning of the show. She's crucified masters, burned prisoners, mad queen. Yep, 100% agree with you, man. And I remember talking to a lot of different people, and I think a lot of people in the fandom did deep dives on this as well around the time of some of the things that she was doing. And it's just that, man. She gets more and more comfortable with the idea of what has to happen. She gets more and more ruthless. She becomes the dragon more and more. That's what happened to her. Do you know what I mean? There was many moments, and I think too, like, it's just the way that it went down. Like, we'll be analyzing this and analyzing her story and everything that happened for a long, long time to come. And then when the books come out, if it is indeed the same way, we will probably analyze all of that as well. Just a lot of it. But at the end of the day, I'm not really surprised that this happened. I mean, obviously I'm saying that because I've made this video and I thought about this and all that, but for real, like, it kind of just makes sense, man. Like, the reason that Tyrion, like, all of these people, when they first get to Dragonstone, and you remember what the Mother of Thorns said to her? She's like, be the dragon, you know what I mean? Like, she was like, you should be killing it out here. You should just be burning it alive. Dany could go take King's Landing immediately, but she doesn't want to be Queen of the Ashes, right? But, like, she kind of does. And when she's up there on the dragon, she's hearing the bells, and she's looking at the Red Keep. She's lived in exile her whole life. Her whole life is just this ridiculous footnote on this crazy moment in history. Her entire family, everything's gone. She lost all these people that are super close to her. And she's just looking at it, and she's alone, and she's heartbroken. Jon broke her heart. Good job, Jon. And, yeah, she snapped. She is the Mad Queen. There's a lot of people that agree with you, Andrew Pham. Andrew Pham, not a fan of a lot of the things, the writing and whatnot. It's always been there, but there's always been a 50-50 chance, right? Sarah asks. So, again, this is in the video that I did 2 years ago. Go to our Twitter and check this out. It's up on our Twitter. One of the things that I talked about was that in the books, the Mad King showed no signs of insanity until he was in his 30s. He was completely normal. And there's a lot to suggest that some of it has to do with maybe either the dragon blood. There's all these theories of, like, they have dragon blood in them. They're, like, truly bred with dragons or dragon people. There are theories just because of the inbreeding that they're more or less all or half of them are crazy. That's just sort of one of the things, they flip the coin and all that. So, yeah, she probably all had the thing. And that's another aspect to it. I think that another interesting aspect to this whole discussion is, well, was she literally insane? Is it a mental health thing? Did she snap? And then, therefore, like, do we even blame her? Like, can she plead insanity, basically, out of this? Like, if she's on trial by the fandom? I don't know. But it's really interesting. Yes, we can blame Jon, Bianca says. Yeah, I think you can blame Jon, at least in part. What if the horse that Arya rode was Jaqen Hagar? Brie Larson asks. Brie? What an interesting question. Wouldn't that be cool? I think that would be pretty cool. If it was. I think that the white horse is an interesting symbol. That scene's crazy, too, because that horse was in shock, dude. That horse was standing there just being like, what in the actual F? Like, just freaking out. And Arya comes over and sort of horse whispers the horse. Really interesting. Jon Snow still knows nothing. Yep. She is not on trial. We ride with her. Oh, I love it. I love it. I don't know how popular that opinion will be. How did Jaime survive so long after being stabbed? Well, because he got stabbed in, like, the gut, I'm pretty sure. That's a long bleed. Technically, I don't even think he would have necessarily died from those wounds. I'd have to go back and watch it. But, like, when you get stabbed in the gut and, like, the stomach area, I mean, unless you get a vital organ hit, all you really are is just bleeding. When you get shot in the gut, you can survive for, like, days. And that's getting shot in the gut. The bullet can, like, rip through you, explode and all that. Why do the writers think we care about Euron and wanted to see more of him in this episode? Eric Pizana asks. So that's really interesting. Dude, from what I understand of Euron in the books, which I'm not a book reader, but I like I said, I like the fandom. I like following the fandom. And I like being aware of things that are, in the source material. Euron in the books is dope, dude. He's like this shamantic sort of weird pirate lord frickin' mage kind of dude. You know what I mean? Like this really interesting, awesome character. And the Euron we got in the show is like a dickhead. He's just an atypical piratey dickhead. And I think that they did that for, it's just the show version. You know what I mean? And I don't know why they think we all love Euron. I mean, I definitely don't love Euron. He's funny in some scenes. You know what I mean? I like some of the scenes that he's been in. That whole thing with him and Jamie, that was so weird. I was like, wait, what? He's just popping up? Okay. Sansa is the Mad Queen. Nah, Sansa's pretty reasonable. But I don't think Sansa agreed or predicted anything. She's just being power hungry herself. I don't think there's any nobility in her wanting to position Jon and do all of that. Yeah, Euron? It's like, whatever. Bran does not matter. Please don't speak his name. Andrew Pham says. Andrew Pham, dude. I mean, you must be a really big fan that's like, feeling a certain way right now. Is that true? Can we get F's in the chat for Andrew Pham's love of Game of Thrones? Because it's dead. Ken says there's like some office stuff with him saying that. Dude, let's get some F's in the chat for Andrew Pham's love of Game of Thrones. Please, guys. Should I play some soft music? Oh, man. Oh, Lucifer's like, Bran. Oh, no. Bran. Look at all that. Keep those questions coming, guys. We're going to go for like 20 more minutes here. Again, I apologize about no Nerdy News Rundown today. I felt like this was a better option for us. And I'm happy to be here with you guys talking some Thrones. So, yeah. Oh, Yanks! 2435. I thought you'd never ask. Are you still okay with D&D writing Star Wars now? I mean, come on, guys. You been watching the channel? You been watching the content? You know a little bit about this guy, Josh? Which, by the way, I love that, so we're a media company, and we're growing a lot, and we're going to have a lot of faces on here, and I love that you guys are, if you follow social media, Ken has become such an important part of the team, of the story of this brand and business as we're growing, and Ken is, a big part of it. I love it, and I would have loved to set up somewhere where Ken and I could be, in the studio across from each other in a video talking about this, because Ken does not like this season and does not like this episode. And that's perfectly cool. We need diversities of opinion, diversity of people that, just in general, I think it makes for better discussions. It's much better. So I'm really glad that we have that going on. It's a good thing. And when it comes to Dan and Dave doing Star Wars, I think my point is, I'm really excited for it, as I am optimistic about everything that they've done in the show so far. But it is interesting. So one of the things that I think, kind of going back to an earlier thought that I had is I love pop culture. I love studying pop culture. I love being a part of this experience and seeing how fans, react to these sort of things. So it is interesting that where Star Wars is at right now and what just happened and everyone basically turned against it. Last night's episode has the lowest rating of any episode on Game of Thrones on Rotten Tomatoes. Definitely shook the fandom. People were going to be talking about it for a long time. People did not like it. By and large, people did not like it. So you ask, am I excited that they're still doing it? For sure. I am. I think they're really talented. I think they're doing what they had to do with this. They're also adapting a tragedy, a fantasy tragedy. And the Old Republic Star Wars is going to be different. You know what? I really want something this tragic, though, for the second of the trilogy. So the Dan and Dave Old Republic trilogy, you really introduce us, you know what I mean? And in Act 2, you need something crazy dark. And then you need, a hopeful third thing. So I think that they have such an ability to work with character, to really manipulate our emotions as a viewer. I'm very excited that Dan and Dave are helming the next Star Wars. Do you think that Varys sent to Dorne that Jon is the rightful king? I think Varys sent to everyone that Jon is the rightful king. Everyone that matters. And I think that so many people are going to... this next episode is going to be really interesting. It's going to be cool to see what happens, man. It's going to be really cool. Yeah. What if Bran was the one who made Daenerys go mad, like what Bran... what Brandon did with Varys? What are you talking about? Oh, okay. So yeah, that could be. That could be. Do I think that Brand let it happen for a reason? I like this train of thought. I like where you guys are at with this. Um, it would be interesting. That's one of the things they could potentially put into the last episode. At the very least, I would like to get a scene with Brand talking to people about how he thinks everything's going down and what he think is the future. You know what I mean? I definitely want to see something like that. I'd love to see him talking to John. I mean, at this point, though, guys, like let's be real here. If you think this episode really broke your heart, what happens if? So I think right now what we're all thinking is that John will kill Daenerys and become the king. What if Dany just burns John alive and she becomes the queen of the Seven Kingdoms and it's freaking bad? It's not good. What if Dany literally kills him? You know what I mean? Like, ouch. Ouch. That would hurt. So, I don't know. Hopefully we get more Bran in the last episode. The one thing I'll say about this season again, and it's just funny because I love this season, and so many people don't. But I'm very intrigued on what the hell is going to happen in the last season or the last episode. Like what? She's like Hitler, dude. Dude, that was brutal. All the action, she killed millions of people. What? What are they going to do? What's Tyrion going to do? What's Jon going to do? How's everyone going to react? I can't wait. I can't wait to see it happen. Yes, Paige Roberts. Yes, the tension. If the ending was bittersweet, then there's no way Daenerys would end up on top. Joel Stoner says. Joel, if Daenerys ends up on top, but she's not the Daenerys that we fell in love with, that we wanted to be on top, I think that is bittersweet. I think that's exactly bittersweet. And by the way, Drogon is looking like unstoppable. And I hope like he just gets even bigger. You know what I mean? Just even bigger. I'd love for there to be more dragons too. I see somebody talking about that. That would be really cool. I've always thought it would be interesting if they found another clutch of dragon eggs. Jess H. John will definitely kill Dany. I mean, I kind of think so too. I think that's kind of what they're sort of setting up. But that doesn't mean it'll happen. Doesn't mean it'll happen. Drogon is on steroids. Dude, Drogon's on steroids, SARMs, EPOs, cocaine, PCP. Dude, that dude. Whew. The only thing that was crazier was Kawhi Leonard last night. The only person more savage than Drogon and Daenerys last night was Kawhi Leonard. And I really hope that Al Schuler watches this part later. You know what I mean? I saw you on Instagram, Al Schuler, talking about Kawhi. And man, somebody clip that. Send that to Al Schuler. So where is the wildfire? The city is not yet blown all the way up. Yeah, I think it's still down there. It's down below, and some of it's getting sparked up. I do think it would be crazy if they all just blew up. Last night I had half a mind that I thought Cersei maybe had the wildfire just everywhere, and like Dany rolls up, and they're all trying to have this talk, and then like, whatever, and then they surrender, and then boom, and they all just get blown up. That would be amazing. Technically, the whole city could still blow up, which I think would be crazy. Second Street Marvel, thanks for the super chat. I think Dany is going to take out Sansa, and that's when Jon finally steps up. Damn, that would be cool. That would be cool, and that would make a lot of sense, right? That would make a lot of sense. Dany almost killed Arya. Jon is already upset with how that all went down, and he's Arya all hurt up. Oh, if he sees Arya? Yeah, maybe. Ricky Stockholm's. Yeah, that would be really interesting if he Dracarys her. Ooh, Jason Kramer. Oh, that is a dope possibility. So if Danny has Drogon burn Jon and Jon emerges unharmed, that would be amazing. And what if like Danny like walks up? You know what I mean? Like, oh, dude, that would be cool. And then like Longclaw goes right through Danny and a burning Jon. You know what I mean? Like they're just in the fire together. That would be pretty freaking dope. I would like that quite a bit. Oh, Al Schuler, you just missed a little something, something, my friend. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the chat, Al Schuler. So, Al, for your benefit, I'll just say this. The only person more savage than Daenerys and Drogon last night was Kawhi. And I saw you on Instagram, Al. I saw your post. As if we didn't lose enough. As if the good people of Philadelphia didn't have a hard enough time last night. Yeah. Danny's pregnant, and right after Jon stabs her, last words, yeah, will be, I'm pregnant with your child. Dude, Sean, I thought that too. I was like, yeah, that's going down. That's going to be brutal. That's going to be brutal. No, I know it was, Al. I know it was because we talked about that in Chicago too. I know where you stand on all that, and I totally get you. I totally get you with that. Talked to a lot of friends last night about that. The ballers, man, hanging out, just talking about it, man. You know, it's cool. Just I respect Kawhi a lot. Fundamentals, man. Do you think Sansa wins after all with the Knights of the Vale? I don't think so. I mean, now we really have to we're like Drogon is really like the thing where it's like, dude, like how, like what's gonna happen here? Like the only way I can see it is if Drogon, I don't know. There was that look that Drogon gave Jon when he and Danny were making out at the waterfall, and I remember like thinking, I wonder if he's like can feel it. You know what I mean? Can he feel that Jon's the rightful king? Can he at the very least feel that Jon is a Targaryen? How does that work? I don't know. Arya will kill Danny, take her face, and Jon will kill Arya thinking it's Danny. Oh! Brutal. That would be brutal. That would be quite brutal if that happened, man. Guys, we're going for like 10 more minutes. Get your questions in. I thought this was a really cool chat, very productive. I'm glad everybody's in here sharing their opinions. You know, I would recommend if you came in late to go watch the beginning of the video on the replay and at least just get my thoughts because, you know, I didn't want to necessarily like put all my thoughts out there as though they were the like facts or that like, okay, this is the thing, guys, and you guys are all wrong if you feel this way about that. But I did want to say one thing and take a stand against what I saw going on in the fandom. And if you're interested in that, go watch the replay and check out what I said. And then let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Yeah, she really, there's nothing that can really threaten her. I was disappointed by the White Walkers died so fast, to be honest. I actually expect that. Just because the episodes were so much pointed to then and then one episode and they're all dead. Yeah, for sure. So Laura is basically making a point about how the Night King and the Army of the Dead was this big lingering thing over 8 seasons. It was this huge deal. It propelled everybody to work together. They, you know, and then they were just done. But the thing about that is like again, and I agree with Ken here. Like if this had happened on a 12 episode for him, a little bit more last season and then more this season, I think it would have been much better. And I will say that I think that's a mistake. It's a mistake that they didn't do that. But I think that in Thrones logic, having this overarching threat and it being this big thing, and you think that that's the way it's going to end, and then it not ending that way, and that's not the biggest thing, because Dany, you juxtapose the damage the Night King did to people against the damage that Dany did to people, and it's just like Dany is literally worse than the Night King. And I think that's important. I think that's a Game of Thrones thing. I think that the tropey Lord of the Rings fantasy mythological ending would be that you defeat evil in the final act. When it mattered, good prevailed. But that's not Thrones. That ain't it, Chief. Oh, Milos Peric. That sounds like an amazingly good video, a theory video. The Night King just wanted to stop Dany from burning all of those innocent people. Also, I want to say this too. If you guys are watching this right now, whether you're on the replay or if you're watching this live, and you are a graphic designer, if you can make me a shirt, design me a shirt that says Varys was right, and have like Varys's face, like kind of like looking up like it is in the thumbnail, and like a Varys was right in like a sort of a propagandy sort of political kind of shirt, like a parody of that kind of shirt with Varys was right. Get me that design, and I'll split the profits with you, and because we'll sell those shirts. I'm serious, because I want that shirt. I wanted that shirt last night. I'm watching the episode, and I'm like, yo, Varys was right. Oh, Barry. Oh, Barry. Dany is going back to Winterfell to kill everyone? Oh, no. Oh, no. That would be terrible. If Bran somehow is the Night King and he planned this all along, I will forgive so much of it. Yeah, I'm sorry, buddy. I don't think that's going down. Kate. Oh, my God. I would burn down King's Landing for that shirt. Too soon? Oops. Yeah, Patrick Tompkins. Maybe. I don't even really want to give any credence to that statement by Barry, but I will just say that I think that is literally equally as ridiculous to people that say that they ruined this strong female character and that they shouldn't have done it because she's a strong female. It's like the same thing. It's the same lack of logic. You know what I mean? It's like you're extrapolating stereotypical reasoning from a thing, which just shows such a clear mental bias that really says more about you than it does objectively about the character of the show or anything. It's a mic drop on that, dude. Bet you Bran isn't even on the final episode. Maybe not. I'd be totally okay with that, Andrew, because I tell you what I like a lot is mystery. I would not mind, because then in our minds we can all say, yeah, no, she probably went back to Gendry, or she did this, or she did that, or blah, 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 blah. That'd be fun. I wouldn't be mad at that. Yeah, what's Sir Bronn of the Blackwater going to do now? I mean, I guess Cersei's dead. And I think it's interesting that Bronn said, I knew Cersei was dead the moment I saw those dragons. Because he was on the battle where Drogon just eviscerated them. Eviscerated. It's a cool word. Hot Pie sits on the Iron Throne. Maybe. Maybe. Collect his debt with a dead Tyrion. Yeah. I'll have to rewatch this live chat, but showing some support, please don't let them ruin this final episode. Brent Maxey. Brent, thank you so much for the support, man. I think you'll really enjoy this fan chat, man. When you go back and watch it, uh, I think there's a lot of nuance to, whether or not we should condemn or accept what has happened in the show. I think a lot of people have opinions for different reasons, and I think that's totally fine, man. And I think you'll really dig this fan chat live as you watch it back. And I thank you so much for the support. And just because I always forget, guys, if you could like the stream, if you're enjoying this stream, I need you to help me out and punch that like button, slam that like button. That would be dope. John is so tired of fighting over bullshit. Yes, he is. And he would be a good king. But that's probably why it's not going to happen. The summary of this fan chat. Everyone has opinions. Yep. What's Danny's next move? She's going to line up everybody that's still alive. She's going to explain in some crazy ass way why she had to burn everyone alive, why she wanted to send this message. This is the Targaryen house literally punishing Westeros for everything they did. Every moment that the Westerosi people lived under a false king and allowed the Targaryen, the rightful ruler, to have to live this terrible life over in Essos. Every moment that they did that was that was punishable, and that justice was served upon the city of King's Landing. That's what Dany will probably say. She'll come up with some, quite frankly, fucking crazy rationale for what she just did. And everyone's going to be so afraid of her that there will be a lot of scenes, I think, next week where Dany, it's all like where everybody's just going through the motions, like on the edge of their seat. Jon is so honorable that he will be the one to bring it up, to maybe tell the Northmen that they're done, to maybe disavow her as a queen, something like that. And then that's when all of it will come to a head, in my opinion. Yeah, the ethical Northernman was attacking the civilians. Yep. That was a cool scene though. That's important, right? That's what war does to men. Yeah. I'd laugh if that's what Bran saw the entire time and he pulled a Hodor on Dany and Arya kills Jon at the same time. Then Sansa takes the chair. Bran smiles because he's controlling all. The end. Hey, that would be kind of weird, twisted, interesting. He never wanted to be king, but that means he should be a good king. I used to say this thing too about like kids, and it's just a thought that I had. Like I don't necessarily agree with this thought, but back in the day, I used to think there's a lot of people out there that probably don't want to have kids, and that's a shame because they should probably be having kids because they'd probably be good at it, but they don't want to. And there's a lot of people, rather, I should say, that have kids that probably shouldn't, and they really want to have kids, and it's just like there's a psychological thing. You think about like police officers, for instance. There is a series of traits that undeniably usually correlate with the types of people that want to be a police officer. And the unfortunate thing is, and there's a lot of really good cops, and I think that cops get a bad rap for a lot of the time. But I think a lot of the reasons that people that are cops do bad things is because the personalities that attract the types of people that want to be cops, they have certain flaws, and those flaws can really, like when put under pressure in those kind of situations, those flaws manifest in really bad ways. It's almost like a lot of people that don't want to be cops, that don't want violence, that are really like logical and they want to be fair and all these different things. Those people should be cops, but they won't be. You know what I mean? It's something really weird that happens. Like life is like that. You know what I mean? It's very that's kind of interesting. I see some people talking about what things will be sort of wrapped up in the last episode. I am really interested in that. I am really interested in what exactly are they going to wrap up? How are they going? Because they've wrapped up a lot. There's still a lot of loose ends, though. What is going to be left unsolved? Like, where do you think we're going to end at the end of this episode? Like, so interesting. I think this episode's fairly long. I think the episode's pretty long. John melting down the Iron Throne. Wouldn't that be interesting? 80 minutes. 80 minutes. Yeah, Arya the Explorer. What's west of Westeros? I really hope that we get that ending where she just goes away into the west. But maybe she'll go with Gendry. I don't know. I mean, is Gendry if they kill Daenerys, is Gendry still the Lord of Storm's End? Dany will have a baby, yes or no? I don't think so. I think I'm 50-50 on it. She either has the baby and it's like, oh my God, she killed Jon. There's no way Jon's just going to let this slide. One of them's dying. One of Jon and either Jon or Dany is dying. Ken Woe, email me, bro. If you got the design, email me. They could both die as well, yeah. That would be cool, Pat. Pat says, what if Gendry sits on the Iron Throne at the end of the show and it ends the way it began with the Baratheon as king? That'd be cool. I'd be okay with that. Sansa as queen could be cool. Dany definitely dead. Littlefinger comes back. Oh, that'd be interesting. All right, guys, we're going to call it there. This has been really fun. Thank you very much for being a part of this fan chat. If you're watching this on the replay and you watch the whole way through, like, holy cow, thank you. I appreciate it. And let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm really interested, guys. Again, look, we're not, I'm no authority on Thrones. In my opinion, definitely is not the metric for opinions out there. The truth is people really don't like this season by and large. The majority of the fan base does not like this season and did not like last night's episode. But I think that's kind of perfect. I think that's kind of totally Thrones, dude. Like, it's just so Thrones. And now everyone's like, ugh. Oh yeah, oh, and all these icky feelings and all this confusion and all this like analysis that we're gonna be doing now feels like Thrones to me. But that's just my opinion, guys. So yeah, thank you guys so much. We're back to normal tomorrow. Back to normal tomorrow, guys. Gonna be nerdy news rundowning it up. Maybe we'll do a live stream as well. Not really sure, but yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of crazy nerdy things going on in the world. I don't know if you've been following what the Russo brothers are saying. But there's some really crazy stuff the Russo brothers are saying about Captain America, Peggy Carter, and different things like that. So, going to talk about all that soon. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I will see you in the next video.